Hello and welcome to this podcast from ETCIO, brought to you by Newgen Software. Thanks for tuning in. Now let me add some context to the discussions before we delve deep dive into it. Now we see India at a crucial juncture as far as its digital transformation journey is concerned. Many people call it the defining moment in the history of digital transformation, particularly in the context of India. And it is in this backdrop that we have the discussions today. And we have a great and a very seasoned technology leader joining us today, Virender Jeet, CEO, Newgen Software. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to the show, Virender. So Virender, welcome to this show, first of all. And the first thing that I would want to ask you is that, which is widely acknowledged, is that India is going through a pivotal phase as far as its digital journey is concerned. So how do you see and visualize this broader transformation that is happening at this national level?
First of all, Muqbil, thank you and welcome, and thank you for having me on the show. Our vision of Viksit Bharat 27 has got multiple building blocks. One of the building blocks is to do with the digital economy. And in that, I see broadly a couple of things which are very important, where we provide a very substantial value to the customer. One is about modernization of governance itself, and that's where we have done it in the past in terms of how you could modernize digital processes which are citizen facing, also other internal backend and middleware processes. This is where you can get a transformative value in terms of how the citizens are being serviced and how the business, whatever the business services government provides, they can provide in a better way. With the low code and BPM are the fundamental to any such use case and transformation, and that's what we can provide. The other thing, which is typically about accountability and governance, which is typically about traceability of what's happening. Once somebody comes to the front end, what happens at the back end? Those are the things which are very, very important. Again, content management becomes very important. Business process management applications become very important. And third is what we are doing right now. It's about whole financial inclusion, bringing down the cost of credit lower, having more digitally inclusive people in terms of getting in the financial. That's typically what we are doing in lending, what we are doing in origination, and whatever we are doing in the banking spaces. We'll continue to do more in these areas, and but broadly these are three big areas. One of the most fourth important area is about what we think the whole content management strategy of a nation, in terms of which is coming from whether you do DRDP Act or typically Records Management Act in this nation. We will be able to provide the fundamental building blocks for organizing national content in terms of, and every country has done it. It's not that it's a first example. You will see people like US, Australia, Canada, they have standards like MOREC, DOD, and we are compliant to all of those global standards. But in India, we have not evolved the content management philosophy to that stage. Between these 3-4 areas, I think we can provide substantial value to the growth of this country.
Now, you have already referred to something, that you are obviously very proud of, which is that you have targeted and positioned Newgen as a built in India and for the global enterprise as well. So how do you see that panning out, and what do you think about Newgen's role in going on the global stage and forging this competitive edge to your product and your company?
Yeah, so it's a long story, but I think the way I see it today is, one of the things is that when you have a product mindset or a research, and you can't have a very small market in mind. You have to compete at the global level because your customers expect globally best things in the world. So what we have done is, when we have this term about build in India and build for global businesses, I think build in India signifies some of the most complex challenges of technology you have. You have scales which are tremendous in terms of number of transactions. What we do in banking in India, nobody is business in the world. And the second thing is, there's also complexity in terms of the diversity of this nation, in terms of business use cases become very complex. These are two things which we really learn and pick up from India. And of course, the third, not to mention, we have got one of the toughest technology evaluation markets. I think the level of technology expertise in India is immense. So when people are evaluating you, they are not leaving any room. So this gives you one. And what the global things give you more, access to larger use cases, leading technology changes, compliances, securities and governance models across the globe. Now, combining these two, That's what we think our product stacks have emerged as some of the best in the world in terms of handling those scales and complexity at the global standards. With this, we think we are poised to really go and help our customers, help different geos, and broadly helping this country, which is still at the infancy of consuming technology, to really go and use them.
True. I think you have taken that leadership role nationally as well as globally. Now, coming to my second question, how do you see yourself positioning vis-a-vis this tremendous surge that we see across sectors, for example, BFSI, government, manufacturing and services, and where do you see the next phase of this growth coming from, particularly looking at it from the lens of your company?
See, if you come to India, I think the growth has been democratic. All segments are growing. But the technology adoption, typically the way the budgets are folded, typically there are always financial services end up beating all segments. And it's global. It's not only about India. So I think for us, financial services, including insurance, the NBFCs which are coming up, the new licenses of insurance, these are the primary segments which will grow. But also the larger growth is coming from the existing customer base. They are modernizing, they are digitizing more and more things, they are providing better services to their customers. So we think between financial services and government, those will be still the larger. And also we are having forays into other segments such as manufacturing, shared services. Products generally are pretty horizontal. When I am talking of enterprise content management or business process management, it applies to all segments and all verticals. It's also our preparedness and the market receptivity of the products when I say. So we are excited that these things will continue to grow. And similar pattern is across India. The only difference is that with the whole interest in the AI, there is an opportunity to really rewrite and redo the landscape of products. And that will provide a next impetus of growth for companies like us, especially which are technology-led, R&D-led outside. So we are not consumers, we are typically creators. So we have been working on the large language models and AI for last few years now, and now is the time to really roll out use cases.
Absolutely. And this brings me to my next question, and which you wonderfully touched on as well. So you position Newgen also as an AI first enterprise. How are you incorporating this intelligence into your platforms, products, all of that?
Yeah, so the way what we signify from AI first is that the whole world is going to be consumer of AI. You will clearly see with whether you're going to use the things like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, everybody is going to use it. Business is also going to be consumer. But for companies like us, which are typically product and IPR led, we have to also redefine our products in terms of every aspect of. So we are looking at all our product stacks and all our use cases and looking at how AI can really transform them. So it's our job to disrupt our own businesses and our own use cases and products before somebody else disrupts. So when we say AI first, we are leading AI first transformation in all aspects of our business, which also will end up providing the huge benefit or transformative benefit to the current use cases, whether it's in financial, whether it's in lending or origination, account opening, insurance, claims, mortgage. We are applying AI to all such use cases. And it's an interesting time. It's a lot of, again, increased focus on R&D and investment led typically time, but huge opportunity. So every transformative change in technology is a great opportunity for product companies to again take up a lead and really look at. So disruption of use cases is what we love as a business in terms of changing the old slide to entirely new slide so that the whole benefit comes to the industry.
True. I totally agree with you that disruption and innovation form the pillars of today's modern enterprise. And, touching another aspect of what your enterprise does, enterprise content management is a very mature category. So how do you visualize and what are the fundamental changes that you see around yourself, particularly as organizations create, use and manage content?
One of the very important and I think I will call this as one of the least probably focused area in countries like India. If you look at when you go to globe, enterprise content management is fundamental to every organization, predominantly for records management, records governance. So even a simple thing about, if you take a loan application from a customer, whether digital, what are you going to do? What's the life cycle of that? Some of these processes, either in government or in non-government, have not been well defined in some markets, and India is slightly lagging. The RMS strategy typically is something which will really provide that convenience, comfort and security to both the customers and enterprises about when they handle assets. So two areas which I am very excited about and what's going to happen are, one is about what the AI is going to do to the content. So far you have seen just a small example of, I would not call it small, a transformative example, what the large language models have done using beyond the transactional data. Now they have gone to the content, the whole, what you call the library of the world, and now you can have very interesting conversation with LLMs. I think the same value is available to enterprises for the content they are having, which is a business content, whether it's about operating manuals, whether it's about how they resolve queries, whether it's about customer support. How can they leverage that? So the next generation of content managements provide that opportunity for organizations to really use AI on their content to really provide a transformative experience to their customers. That's one area. Second is coming from typically regulated government, whether you're talking of courts or whether you're talking government. What is their records management strategy? How are they going to protect their records? What does confidentiality mean? How are they going to make sure the PII issues are addressed? And with the new DRDP guidelines coming, that's further going to accelerate. There is a issue of consent management. There's an issue about lifecycle management of documents. So it's an exciting time. Some of the markets globally, like markets like in US, Europe, Australia, their government is slightly ahead on the records management, but in other countries and countries like India, we still isn't emerging. So excited about it and ready to help when the market is ready to respond.
Absolutely. So, keeping in view that content has become really multimodal with including documents, images, voice, video, and machine generated data, which is like really the sprawl of content and very multidimensional. In all of that, what USP or what crucially differentiating factor that Newgen brings to the table that would really help it maintain its competitive advantage?
See, multimodal has been nature of the game for many years of that. Issue is about, how well can you use this multimodal content in your business in terms of whether you can use it in decision making, whether you can use it for governance, compliance, and typically also in terms of getting more assets and information about that. So, what Newgen does is we have been handling this multimodal content for many years. And what we have effectively done is to service this content in business processes. Like, if you look at a lot of claims plate processes are using multimodal content. They're using video messages, they're using recordings typically to service the claim. So it's already being done. Similarly, there are regulatory requirements for, I'll give you some cases which are typically very far from still Indian market, but typically you today for a bank, you are interfacing with all the messages, events you are getting from enterprises. There are governance frameworks in countries where you are supposed to archive it for 8 years and provide access. So I could as a customer go and say, hey, my ABC bank, what did it send me 3 years back as a message on my phone? I should be able to see that and recall it. Now people are going to that level. Then there is also an event data and machine generated content. So different use cases, but fundamentally they again provide the same opportunity that how can you leverage that content into your business and how can you manage it safely for the customers in terms of not losing their information and keeping it healthy for the business.
Right. Now touching another aspect, which is an all-pervasive one, which is that there has been this tremendous push, institutional push and support, resulting in something like Viksit Bharat campaign, where we see a palpable drive towards digitalization. How is this creating new opportunities for Newgen? Particularly, of course, it's creating those opportunities. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I think one thing in India is, I think the regulators push about digitization and using digital as a backbone for delivering services as created. So the kind of business we got from a lot of financial, especially in the public sector area, has been driven by the regulatory push. So I think there is a still enormous regulatory push on typically about having digitalization of business processes. That's one area. The second thing is, as economies grow and businesses grow, they have no room but to digitize more. So that fundamentally drives the whole digital spend in the market. And we stay in that niche layer about where you are trying to automate digital processes. That's what we do because that's our core forte. And then use content to service those business processes. So I would say any amount of digitalization as it grows in the market, any economic growth as it happens, it creates opportunities in different use cases for us. But of course, it also means we have to be ready for those use cases. We have to be able to, we have made a good foray in understanding customers' business to service those use cases. So I would say there is clearly a regulatory push about better governance, and that's what driving. There is also governance in government in terms of, whether it's about smart cities and other things which have come up, and I think more has to happen in those areas. And then there is an economic growth which is really pushing and I'm still leaving the AI out because that's more transformative, and I think we have not really seen the full potential of that yet.
Of course, I would agree with you on that count as well, that AI has taken the world by storm, and the transformative changes that have been brought about by this tremendous adoption of AI is unprecedented. There's no doubt about it. Now, coming to the last question, we have spoken at length about the past, the present. Now, how do you see in the future, how do you see Newgen maintaining this pole position in enterprise tech, in this unique niche category that it has? How do you see yourself maintaining that, and how do you see the future roadmap?
See, this question for every product company is how do you maintain that edge, because you're competing against the global. So it's a fair question, but I think it also depends from culture of R&D in terms of, we have been a company who have been investing roughly more than 10% of our revenue on R&D for last 20-25 years. So, and we're used to, and we are keen to invest more as soon as we feel more tangible ideas on the roadmap. I think like these days the AI is driving most of the investments on our product roadmaps. So we're excited about that, and we have seen this cycle of how that investment gives benefits. Unfortunately, a lot of industry has not seen, because we're not a product-led industry. So, these questions become slightly unique in this, I think. But as soon as switch out of this country in other countries, people don't have those concerns about how R&D leads to growth. So I'm saying our investment in that and our belief in terms of our ability. India has great talent base. We have extremely good people out here. The technology also is typically a very level playing field globally. It's about just investments, and if you can have the right access to right customers. So that will continue happening. We'll keep on investing in that. But then other thing is also, we are damn excited about what's happening in AI and how it's affecting our areas. The low code, which is about typically an area by which we can generate digital applications very fast. AI is accelerating that area further. So we should be able to provide even higher value. The whole content management is getting reignited in terms of what content analytics, what content AI can deliver to use cases. So extremely good uses. So more products like Harper, Lumen, we have many products which we launched around that area. We also, interestingly, have some of the earliest AI-led use cases in market in enterprises. We did one of the great cases for India's largest regulator. They're using our AI product. We did the same thing for Singapore government and some of the agencies in Singapore. So it's an exciting time. So product companies always believe in what they have. There's an element of pride in what we are doing. And there is also an element of belief that you can carry it and sell it in the globe. And the market, as the technology cycles change in this market, every new cycle provides us a great opportunity to disrupt the existing use cases and increase our market share.
10% is a huge number, and I'm very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised, and glad to know that in fact, looking at the R&D levels across the globe, I mean, the national R&D level is abysmal. It is like, it would be a minuscule percentage of what you do. But generally, globally, product companies which have prospered have all been led by a very robust investment strategy, particularly in R&D. And I think 10% of that is a fabulous number. Globally, it's around 3% or so. So I think that goes a lot to your credit, and I hope that Newgen takes great strides in the future, and more money and more resources are pumped into this very crucial area, which is what I think will help you maintain that competitive edge that you want to hold on to, really strongly. So, but thanks, Virender, for joining us for the chat today.
Thank
and
you for
it's been a lovely, lovely discussion today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It's been a very insightful and I would say a very aspirational discussion that we have had today. And I look forward to many more such discussions in the future. For now, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Virender, for joining us.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
It's been a lovely discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.